Tonight, a justice investigation. While a crime wave hits American cities from coast to coast, another deadly threat is impacting families in the U.S., and it is fentanyl. Tonight, I'm honored to be joined by Virginia Krieger. Sadly, Virginia lost her 26-year-old daughter, Tiffany, in 2015 by a poisoned pill that was laced with fentanyl. Virginia is the president and CEO of the Fentanyl Awareness Coalition and founder of Parents Against Illicit Narcotics. First of all, Virginia, our thoughts are with you. It's got to be very difficult for you to even talk about this, but I congratulate you on turning this into something positive. Tell us about your daughter, Tiffany.
Well, Tiffany was a very bright, talented young woman. She was a semifinalist on American Idol twice. She was the kind of person that just made you feel good about yourself just being around her. So losing her in this way to a counterfeit pill of all things was pretty shocking for all of us. It was definitely not something we expected. She had injured her back, and the friend of a friend offered her a Percocet while she was waiting for a follow-up appointment with her physician.
Wow.
This was nothing, it was just completely shocking. And the scary part is the realization that this casual transference of medication takes place all the time in our society. And up until now, it really wasn't that big of a deal, but it is now. Now that we have these counterfeit pills of pure fentanyl that are just pouring into this country unabated. And we have a public of young people who have not been warned about the dangers of these pills. And currently, everything that they've been doing has been leaning towards, dealing with addiction issues. But this isn't an addiction issue. This is a life or death issue. Well, and we now have non-addicted young people dying.
Right. This is really a poisoning. And if someone thinks they're getting a painkiller that is laced with fentanyl that the other person may not be aware of, it's about these illicit pills that are on the streets that kids are getting their hands on, and unfortunately people see it as an overdose, but it's a poisoning. And the poisoning took your daughter's life away. So you've turned this into something positive. What are you doing now?
Well, what we've done is we've gathered together roughly, we're at about collectively 23,000 members through our partner organizations, all bereaved family members, all who have lost their children to illicit fentanyl. And we're starting to try to push our federal government and our state governments to engage in widespread, full immersion, public safety and awareness campaigns to warn them about this danger. Currently, there's nothing directed towards this new population at risk. And you're correct, these are poisonings. And, they are not an overdose. That word implies that they knew what they were taking, they wanted to, and simply took too much. But that isn't what's happening. Well, and so we really need to do something about it. So I thank you for having us here to bring it forward into the national discussion.
Virginia, I appreciate your being here. God bless you for what you're doing. This is a terrible situation. It's affecting a lot of families, and we're very proud to have you on and to talk about your organization. Thank you so much. And here with more on the threat is former DEA Special Ops Division Agent Derek Maltz. All right, Derek, what Virginia talked about was what you've talked about before, and that is that there is this war that's going on where pills are coming in through the southern border laced with fentanyl, intending to kill young kids and people who buy drugs or a pill for $5 or $10. Talk to me.
Well, thank you for having Virginia. I work very closely with Virginia and all the families, but it's not just the fake counterfeit pills containing fentanyl. It's the cocaine laced with fentanyl. It's the meth with fentanyl, and now even maybe marijuana. So you have the Mexican cartels working in partnership with the Chinese transnational criminals, and they're invading our country across the border, and they're dropping these poisonous pills and this poisonous substance all over our country. We have a chemical weapon attack that nobody's paying attention to. And our current administration is using old talking points about the opioid addiction. Yes, we have an opioid addiction, and yes, it's very serious, but the sense of urgency should be applied to the death and the destruction of our families around America, our future generation, Judge.
All right, so let's talk about this poisoning. who is doing the poisoning, and it apparently is intentional. It is intending to kill Americans. So if it's coming through the border, I mean, where it's coming from China, where's it coming from? Who's lacing the weed and everything else with fentanyl?
Back in like 2012, we started seeing significant deaths from fentanyl coming in mail packages on the internet from China, from Wuhan-style labs. And then after several years, and they started sending the bulk quantities right to Mexico. The Mexican cartel started making the fentanyl. They started getting chemicals from China. Then President Trump put a lot of pressure on China. They classified all the analogs as you know, illegal in China. So the cartels just took advantage of the addicted population, started making all the fentanyl in labs in Mexico. Judge, October 28th, they hit a lab in Mexico producing 70 million pills a month in Sinaloa, Mexico. It's controlled by the powerful cartels, and they're making billions of dollars, but they're killing our kids. So many believe this is unrestricted warfare against our country. China's behind it. They're using the cartels as the proxies to kill our kids and our future generation. And nobody's talking about it. So thank you.
Well, here in New York City, Mayor de Blasio has decided that he's going to create these drug dens, that he's going to allow people to come in and do their drugs in a safe place. What do you think is going to happen in that situation?
Judge, first of all, Mayor de Blasio has a track record for failed policies. He took the big apple and turned it into the rotten apple, right? I lived there my whole life, the crime, the garbage, and all the other problems. But the reality is it's against federal law. They're sending mixed messages. Look at the case in Philadelphia, Safe House. The Third Circuit Court of Appeals, ruled against opening that safe injection center, they call it like the OPCs, right? The opioid prevention centers. They ruled against opening because it violates federal law. 21 United States Code 856, which deals with maintaining, drug-involved premises back in the crack days in New York, and then the MDMA days in the 90s and the 2000s. And actually, Joe Biden was a co-sponsor of this bill back in the 80s, so he should know better. And this is not going to help, and it's certainly not going to save the lives of these young kids. Their families are devastated, and we need the government to step up and help the families and save lives.
Well, we do need the federal government, the state government, and we need people like de Blasio to get out of the way and, take off. Anyway, Derek Maltz, thanks so much for being with us tonight. We appreciate it. We're going to stay on this, and we're going to have you back soon.